Hello, Gender Tweakers. This is Isla. This week's topic is gender in the media. And in the last few years, I've only had limited exposure to the media. I've lost interest in television and developed a great interest in the internet. So whatever was on the internet, I generally found, especially in the early days of the internet. First, I'm going to go back and give you what history I do have about gender and the media. Do note that I'm coming from a trans perspective, and later found out also that I was intersex, so I'll bring these elements in as they come along. I was born in 1960. That puts me at this time 50 years old, and one of the first landmark or trailblazing books about sex in the 60s was a book by a Dr. Rubin called Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Sex But Were Afraid to Ask. I was about 12 when I started reading it, and of course it gave me a lot of basic education, but in many ways was a product of its time. It did cover transsexuals and gave me for the first time a label and a name for what I was going through as far as my gender dysphoria is concerned. And it also affected me because Dr. Rubin portrayed transsexuals in a pretty negative light, and although I knew that I was essentially a transsexual, I didn't want to follow through with all the negative imagery that Dr. Rubin had portrayed them with. And later on, as I became a teenager and into my 20s, you had talk show hosts such as Phil Donahue. Donahue actually did a pretty good job of at least trying to present the phenomenon without tinging it too negatively. I got married in 1987 and started watching some more shows about transgender, and at that time it was kind of a shady thing, a little bit before some of the trash TV that's out there now, but it sort of fueled my underlying desire to start transition. But when I seriously started dealing with the idea, I found out that it hurt both me and my spouse way too much for me to consider actually transitioning. So I spent the next 20 years of my life trying to make this go away. And the thing that I've found after all this is that I really can't make it go away, but that's really a leap in the narrative here. Eventually, about 1995, I went back to school. First time I'd really gone to university. And the internet was first getting, I can't say started, but getting recognition. And my first exposure to the internet, where I found a lot of transgender sites, really started me thinking about my own gender and sex. I think I've covered the story before about my discovery of my intersex condition. When I was 20, I took an anatomy course and saw a picture of a man with Klinefelter syndrome, and this man looked just like I did with my clothes off, and I'm going, wow. So as time came along, this gave me a impetus to start searching not only for answers to my gender issues, but as well to explore what my true sex was. And once I started exploring, I found out that, hey, I really was intersex, and that with this realization, I came to terms with my gender dysphoria, because I finally felt justified for having this. Now, I want to clarify that actually any person who has gender dysphoria who can't make the claim that they're intersex has every right to transition and be who they are. It's just for me and my value system back then, I needed something to give me some kind of reasoning or justification to start doing what I needed to do. And now I recognize that as not being appropriate, but it's what I needed. Today, I'm finding that there are some really good and important websites that are dealing both with intersex as well as transgender issues. And for any of us out there, whether we're intersex or transgender, transsexual, androgynous, genderqueer, whatever our identification and our inner reality is, there's help out there for us. Scroll down. So my point is, for whoever you are, don't isolate. No one is meant to go through this struggle that all of us must go through to deal with these issues alone. No one's meant to do that. Go and find your community. Even if you live in an isolated spot, if you have internet access, you can have community, and community will provide you support. So do not be alone. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye and hope to see you all next week at Gender Tweakers. Bye!